Holiday shopping season is upon us, but after an earnings season where many retailers warned of slowing sales due to the high cost of living, will retail profits be squeezed? Joining us now to discuss, Chris Graja, Senior Analyst for Retail at Argus Research. Chris, great to have you back on the program. Perfect time of year to talk retail, so let's get into it. We've heard the warnings. Will consumers open their wallets, and what will it mean for retail this holiday season?
I think the first takeaway going into the holiday season is that people are always going to try to do what they need to do to make the holiday special for the people they care about. That may have implications in January, but in general, people try to be optimists for the holidays. And, I think that's one of the positives. If you look at the basic numbers, the GDP revision up today is very strong. The CPI has come down very nicely. Unemployment's low. When you look at it on the surface, it looks pretty good. But the challenge is that, as you said, inflation's still high. Doug McMillon, the CEO of Walmart, said a couple months ago that, the cost of a basket of groceries is still probably 20% higher than it was before the pandemic. So that if you're a family who's spending, $200 a week on groceries, that's $40 a week, $160 a month of incremental expense that is weighing on your ability to make discretionary purchases. And that's where the biggest challenges are. Whether it's from Tractor Supply, where people are still buying, they're still buying pet food, they're still buying things to care for their property, but they aren't buying, big ticket things like trailers. And we see the same thing at Home Depot that, whereas during the pandemic at Home Depot and Lowe's, people were, buying multiple appliances. They're like, we need a new fridge. Let's get the dishwasher and the oven matching so we all have them. Now people are, waiting to the very end and doing replacements. And, even at stores that sell, much lower price things, people are switching down to store brands. They're making decisions as to how much they need to have. Maybe they're buying one and, destocking their pantries from when they stocked up. And the question is, why? People have spent through some of their pandemic savings for sure. Some of the programs that were designed to sort of stabilize the economy during COVID, SNAP benefits, that's in the U.S., it's a supplemental nutrition assistance program. Child tax credit, the pause on student loan repayments. A lot of those things have rolled off. And one of the dynamics you do see is that services spending is relatively strong. And I think one of the reasons for that is that some of the lower income consumers, are more stretched because food's a bigger portion of their overall monthly budget. And then the other thing is they've probably spent through, the evidence suggests, a higher percentage of their savings from COVID. So the wealthier cohort is a little bit more flush, and they're spending more and more relatively on services, experiences, travel, going out to eat. And we can talk about, if you want, how that affects the Christmas spending forecast, maybe specifically.
Yeah, because you do see that shift, right, between spending on what you need and what you want. Before we go into that, I did want to ask you about, I found it interesting during this retail season, a few retailers were talking about the fact that when they hold a sale, the demand is big and the stuff flies off the shelves. But outside of the sale periods and the big discounts, consumers are pulling back. From an investment point of view, that seems to me to speak of tightening margins or perhaps no profit margin at all. Is that a bit of an overhang for them?
Well, it's certainly a very good thesis. One of the questions is whether they have inventories, well enough aligned. So, one of the things you allude to is kind of like appointment shopping, and over the last year we've seen that, shopping was weak. It's strong like Mother's Day, Father's Day, back to school, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas typically. But then in those lulls, it becomes challenging. So, one of the things I have my eye on very closely at this holiday season is, this is getting wonky and kind of technical, but Thanksgiving was early this year, so we have a longer period between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And shopping will pick up in the last few days before Christmas. There's no doubt about that. But you kind of worry, to your point, about the weeks between sort of the Cyber Monday promotions and when people are like, oh no, Christmas is 2 days away. I better get what I need. If inventories are elevated, during those kind of dull weeks, and we saw it a little bit last year, some of the retailers may get a little bit nervous and mark things down. So yeah, I think it's a balance of inventories coming into the season, how effectively they did sell through during sort of the period in October where they did have a lot of sales, how they did through Black Friday. And it seems like it was an okay, pretty decent Thanksgiving, and then how they're feeling about their inventories leading up to the holidays, and if they feel like they really need to lower prices in order to clear things out. But some of the surveys agree with your thought that people are looking for sales and are looking for discounts after the years where there were product shortages and people were just like, I want to get my child this toy. I'm just going to pay full price and make sure I get it.
I want to ask you, I want to take this discussion back to the fact of the shifting consumer habits, because I know that after I do my panic shopping right before Christmas, that happens to me every year, when the new year comes, you've got things. You still want to get out of the house, though, and experience. Could that be a tough time for retailers as we head into the new year? People will put their money more into restaurants, more to experiences, and they've done their holiday shopping?
I mean, I think one of the challenges is that if the economy remains tight, particularly for people at lower income levels, you've kind of spent your money and you've splurged, to get that extra toy or that extra game system or the extra fun thing for the holidays, and then January rolls around and the credit card bills come out. And quite honestly, one of the challenges is that credit cards are at record high rates, and you're saying, I really need to be careful here for a couple months. And then you're right. I mean, for the higher income shopper, one of the things you'll see right after Christmas is some of the higher end retailers and department stores go, with their resort collection. That's not for everybody, but yeah, there's, as you say, there's a percentage of the population that is, as Christmas ends, they start thinking of their clothes for flying south or going to California or going to Spain or somewhere like that or taking a cruise. So yeah, there are a lot of dynamics that's what makes it interesting. But I think the big one is, if people make it a Merry Christmas, how does it look if their credit cards are strained come January and we don't have as many of those appointment shopping events to kind of get people to open the wallets?